Hey friends, it's Awkwardly Random with Cinthia and Michelle, where we talk about random topics.
Anything and everything awkward is on the table, so let's dive right in.
Hey everybody!
Hi.
Hi! Have y'all noticed anything different? If you haven't, I'll just tell you. We put our logo in the background. We had some technical difficulties in the beginning trying to figure it out, but we got it.
I'm using my iPad now. Something with my MacBook, it was giving me a hard time. But we're good now. We're good.
To me, it looks like it's backwards, like on mine. But as long as y'all, it looks good and not backwards to you, that's all that matters.
Looks good.
So we're back for another episode, y'all. Welcome back to Awkwardly Random
with Cinthia and Michelle. Oh my god, that's so cheesy.
I put you on the spot, Mish.
It's fine.
How are you?
I'm good.
How's the
just
week?
Working. Pretty good. Just working. I'm just working, and during my free time, I am catching up with the Derek Chauvin trial that's happening in Minneapolis. Basically, if folks don't know, you can watch it. I use Washington Post on YouTube, but you could also watch it through Unicorn Riot on Facebook, and there are other news sources that
are covering it
and make like summaries at the end of the day of like what happened. So I've been catching up with that, like watching it on my free time. And if folks don't know, that trial is Derek Chauvin is the police officer who murdered George Floyd last summer, or in May of 2020. And so now they're doing his criminal trial, and it's been intense to watch just the openings. And right now it's the state's case. So the state is bringing up their witnesses and basically making up the case. They have the burden to prove all of the elements of what he's being charged with. So it's been intense. It's going to be interesting to see what the defense brings up with their case and their witnesses. So I'm going to keep tuning into that. What about you? How have you been?
Same, working. I've been a little bit busier than usual, but I've been trying to keep up with what's happening with the trial, just reading up on it afterwards. And just being busy, staying busy with work. I feel like this week has gone kind of slow. Like it just feels long for some reason this week. Today is Wednesday. We're recording Wednesday evening. And today also is the International Transgender Day of Visibility. Which is a day to, celebrate and bring awareness, and we'll celebrate transgender, non-binary, non-gender conforming individuals. We see you, we hear you, we celebrate you, and not only today, but every day. So just thought we would bring that up.
Super important.
For sure. So I've just been busy, but excited to be here. Same. I love recording. I always get nervous right before, and then I'm like chill after that.
Same. And I'm drinking water because I have been feeling very dehydrated lately. So this is a note to anyone who's listening who doesn't drink enough water. Drink your water.
Drink your water.
I need to drink more. Mine too. I've been feeling super dehydrated and like with headaches. So I'm pretty sure it's because I don't drink enough water. I don't know why. I usually do a pretty good job, but lately I've been terrible at it.
It's okay. You're back at it. You're drinking water right now. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Hydrate, Mish. I'm proud of you for hydrating.
Thanks.
So today, we're going to start by talking about Demi Lovato's docuseries that just came out a few weeks ago on YouTube. And it's called Dancing with the Devil, I believe. This is the second documentary that she's come out with. The first one she started, but I don't think they finished it. But this one goes more into detail about what happened leading up to her overdose that happened like 2.5 years ago. I think it was 2018, July 2018. And then like how she's doing now. So I think there's only 3 episodes out. The 4th one, do you know when that one's coming out?
April 4th. I'm pretty sure sometime in April, early April, but I think it's April 4th.
So if you're interested, check that out. It's on YouTube. The episodes are like 20 something. Yeah, it's free. The episodes are like 20 something minutes long. They're not long. But it is deep. It is intense. It is heavy. I did not realize just how serious it got. You know, obviously I don't know her. Obviously I don't, but like I just didn't know like how deep it went, you know, like how it's just a lot of things that she went through. And, you know, in a way this is bringing an increased awareness towards like mental health and addiction. Hi, Mia. You know, alcoholism, trauma, abuse, all of those really heavy topics.
Yeah.
What did you see? Did you see all 3 episodes?
Yeah, I have. I actually knew like what happened. Obviously not to this extent, but I followed it a lot when it happened, just because I've personally really followed and really like Demi as an artist. Maybe not so much her personal life, but I knew she had struggled before with addiction and an eating disorder, and like she was very vocal about it even before this documentary. But I wasn't surprised that, you know, she had relapsed, just because I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit about addiction and you know, family members of mine going through something similar to that. So I know it's very hard to overcome something like that. It's like an ongoing struggle every day. And but I've always been a fan of her in terms of like her music, and I think she's an amazing artist and singer.
I think so
but
too.
I didn't know like I guess the repercussions of that relapse, of that overdose. I mean, like physically what her body went through. I thought that was the most shocking thing to me, but also, and the fact that, you know, she's still alive was kind of like a miracle, basically, based off of her doctors and what she was talking about. So that was intense. But yeah, it was just shocking to hear the events leading up to it, and just like how it affected everyone in her, like in her family and her friends. And I don't know, I thought it was good, but at the same time, like it can be triggering to some people, having to watch someone go through that. But at the same time, I appreciate her like being courageous and brave to share her story, and letting us in, because that's probably not easy to do. I mean, I don't struggle with any of those things, so I can't imagine going through that and then sharing it with everyone, especially someone who is as famous as she is, you know?
Just to reiterate, like how much her body endured, like in that overdose. I even wrote this down because I was like, that is a lot for a body to handle. But she had 3 strokes. She had a heart attack. She experienced brain damage from the strokes. She had like some impaired vision where she said that she had some blind spots and now she can't drive. Multiple organ failure. Like that is a lot for your body to handle. And she survived it, but that's a lot. And yeah, like this documentary, like I also appreciate that she's sharing her story. I'm wondering how, or if and how it's triggering her the more that she's talking about it. And she's not only talking about it in the documentary, but she's also being interviewed about the documentary, and she's constantly talking about it, right? And in the documentary, in one of the episodes, they were saying, like, her family members and her friends, that she's really good about hiding that she's okay. Like she's good at hiding things and showing that she's okay when she really isn't. And so, you know, you and I, Michelle, were talking about this yesterday, but you made the really good point of like, you know, hopefully she's doing well, and she means like she's not lying, right? Like she's
like she's not fooling us,
right,
fooling everyone.
right.
The reason why I say that, or I said that, is because, I mean, obviously I wish the best for her, but
right.
with her previous documentary about like her sobriety and her eating disorder, she confessed that like she was high in that first interview when she claimed that she was sober.
Right.
So yeah, I just hope she's actually good and she's getting the help that she needs. She really made it clear that although a lot of people had her interests during this period, you know, when she overdosed or when she was not feeling very well, she wasn't actually getting the help she wanted.
Right.
And that she for herself didn't actually choose that path, that it was kind of forced on her by her managers and her team.
Right.
Kind of like this tough love and like you have to do it or like we're not going to manage you anymore. So
kind of like this ultimatum.
Yeah, I'm glad that it seems like she feels like she's safe and protected and like guided in a way and supported with those people now.
Yeah. And she seems, obviously, again, I don't know her, but she seems like comfortable enough to talk. You know, the way that she's talking into the camera and like sharing her story, she seems like she's in a better place. So hopefully that's true and hopefully she's doing well.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of like young, because she grew up on TV, like she grew up famous, like 15 years old, right? Or even earlier than that. So like she's really always been in front of a camera and felt comfortable doing that. And even with her music, and in the documentary, they talk about how like she's very real and honest with her music. So she's not afraid to share it.
Right.
So I think that's just how she is as a person. But yeah, I mean, it's tough.
But it was as if that was like her saving grace. Like she was saying that she was remembering being in the hospital bed and thinking like, okay, all I really want to do right now is go back to making music. Like that's what she loves.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, a passion that she has. And it seems like that was what helped her get through. Not the only thing, but probably a big part of why and how she got through all of that.
Yeah.
All of that trauma. But yeah, I think, that she must be under a lot of pressure, always being in the spotlight, always having a camera in her face.
And having to feel like this role model when she didn't necessarily choose to be a role model. She chose to be an artist.
Well, she probably hears that all the time from her fans. You know?
Yeah, listen, so.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. The other thing that I found interesting was that like she is not practicing a complete, like obviously we have another episode left, but based off of what we've heard so far, it seems like she is managing her addiction by still consuming drugs. Obviously she's not going to disclose like her treatment, but it's interesting how it's not how she's going about it in a unique way. And I mean, I'm not an expert and I don't know how treatments like this happen or work or rehab even. It's just interesting to hear like what is working for her. And I wonder if there's like there will be a change in treatments or rehabs or how people help with people with addictions, because at least from my experience, I don't think like having an addiction or like an eating disorder is like a disease. I don't necessarily think someone chooses that. I know a lot of people think that like, oh, you're choosing this, it's your fault. Like you need to stop doing this to your body, you're harming yourself. But it comes to a certain point where like they can't help it. And it's like a disease that like there needs to be something, but it's not like tough love, because then that can be like super isolating too. I don't know. I'm not a professional, but it just seems like the route that they're going isn't like the typical, like you need to be clean and that's it. You need to be monitored at all times.
Right.
And I don't know what her treatment is, but it just sounds different than like what we usually hear when it comes to celebrities and addiction and going to rehab.
She was talking about how it's I guess considered not very conventional the way she's doing it, but she is I think still drinking, still smoking in moderation, and I think she's only smoking like certain things. I'm not really sure. I don't know if she's doing like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's still consuming something.
Yeah.
That's all I know. And yeah, I mean, it's different, and I have a feeling a lot of people have their own opinions about it. But if that's what's working for her, that's what's working for her.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a reason why it's called addiction. I mean, you're dependent on it, and it's something that, you know, like, I feel like people shouldn't be, like you said, the tough love, and like you need that help, but it might look different for you individually, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't, and to place blame on that person for making the quote unquote choice is not helping at all.
Yeah, it's not helping at all. Yeah.
So I just hope she's doing well. She's a really great singer, great artist. Her music is really good. I don't know all her songs, but the songs that I have heard are really good. So we wish her well.
Yes, wish her well. I like a lot of her music. So
what's your favorite song? Do you have one? Do you have a favorite song of hers?
I don't have a favorite one. Okay. I've listened to her since I was really young, because we're so close in age. And
yeah,
like I used to watch her show Sunny with the Chance, but I realized that she wasn't happy during that time. So I'm just like, okay, I guess I don't like that anymore. I guess I don't know why I liked it. I feel like if I would watch it now, I wouldn't like really enjoy it, but I do enjoy really her music. Like, I like some songs that I like that are just really good songs. I think Don't Forget, Something, Give Your Heart a Break, Warrior, Skyscraper. There's so many, like Cool for the Summer, and Sorry Not Sorry, Confident, Anyone. Like, that was deep, man. Deep. That was really deep for me. Just I don't know. I feel like she's one of those artists that like makes music that really either it's a bop, or like it really touches you and like makes you feel something. At least for me it does. And I, really like her as an artist. So hope she's doing well.
Agreed. All right, y'all. Shall we move on to the next topic of the day? This has been all over TikTok. From what I've seen, and it's been it's like what I've been constantly hearing about the past few days. But Lil Nas X's music video, Montero (parentheses Call Me by Your Name), that song, he came out with it I actually can't remember the exact date, but it was recent. And it's it
was this weekend. I don't know.
It's when it came out.
I don't know. I think so.
It was very, very recent, but everybody's talking about it. People have their opinions.
Okay, so I only watched it once. I think it like showing like he's in this fantasy world basically, and he is a person and there is a snake and he eats something. So kind of mimicking or like showing like the Adam and Eve story.
But then he has like an intimate encounter with another
somebody else,
who may be perceived as male. And later in the video, he goes down a giant stripper pole to hell and gives the devil a lap dance. So there's a lot. So in the beginning, actually, he does this like monologue thing. Like he says like, we hide the parts of ourselves that we don't want the world to see. We lock them and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes, but here we don't. Welcome to Montero. And I just learned today that Montero is actually his government name. Like, that's his real name. Yeah. Montero something. I don't know his last name, but that's his name. So anyway, so basically he's kind of saying like, and his message is more of like, he grew up being taught to kind of essentially hate himself for who he is, right? He identifies as gay, and he always felt like he had to hide that part of himself, and now he's like, okay, I'm not gonna hide this anymore. I'm proud of who I am. I'm accepting of myself. Stay mad if you want to stay mad, right? So yeah, there's a lot of nice colors in the video. It's pretty like there's a lot of nice graphics and effects and all that kind of stuff, but it is a little bit intense with the whole Satan thing. Like, I don't really mess with that energy, but I understand why he did it. Like, it's cool to see him, express himself in the way that he wants to. you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are just like bashing it.
Really? Yeah. I think from what I saw, I only saw it once, but from the lap dance, are we mad at the Satan or are we mad at the lap dance and the Satan? Because the lap dance wasn't that explicit. Like if we look at like what Cardi B and like Megan Thee Stallion have like done in terms of like dancing, like it wasn't to that level on Satan, to be in my opinion. And I don't mess with Satan either. Like I identify as a Catholic. I don't mess with that energy, but at the same time, like I can compartmentalize and separate like when someone is like being an artist and expressing this message versus like he is satanic and he worships the devil, which I don't think he does. I think I think it's reaching. I think it was clear his message, especially if it's, I don't know if he grew up around like people who were religious, because a lot of the times, like if someone back then, I don't know how, I mean, maybe people have these ideas still, but like people would say like if someone was gay, they'd go to hell.
Right.
So playing off of that message and just being like showing that he is proud of who he is, I think it can be empowering as someone who isn't, you know, gay and like have been told that, like I can't, like I'm assuming this would be empowering to them. Right. And like but at the same time, like that doesn't mean just because you like support him in a song, that doesn't mean like you support the devil.
Right.
I think like people like want to like mesh the two. And I'm saying this because as someone who like grew up watching movies, TV shows that have to do with like Charmed, like with Phoebe, she had sex with and had a kid with one of the evilest, basically the devil of the underground. And like there's other things and other TV shows that play into that, but nobody is calling them like satanic, like that they worship the devil or anything like that. So I think it's overreaching. Obviously I don't support the devil or anything, but I think there's a such thing as artistic freedom, and you know, he can do that. But I think, and also like there's so many things happening, especially now, like with being Trans Visibility Day, and just like all these things happening with trans rights being being taken away in the states that we see now. Currently, like there's far bigger issues than like this man trying to express himself and being empowered as being gay. There are just so many issues that like we have to like should deal with versus like trying to criticize and like criticize him for like his artistic freedom and calling him like, I don't know, I just think it's too much. I'm just like
but good for him to like, regardless of all the, you know, the stuff that he's, you know, getting from like all these negative reactions and like all these things that are being said about him, he is still being unapologetically himself, and he's like, I'm proud of this, right, and I'm not going to apologize, you know. So like good on him for doing that, you know, standing up for himself and empowering himself.
And I also read another thing that people are mad about is like his demographic. So many people are mad at him at different things. Some people are mad that like he gave Satan a lap dance. Some people are mad that like he has a lower demographic, but at the same time, like
a younger one,
like a younger demographic. I mean, and I guess for businesses purposes and like brand, his older music was catered to a younger audience. So it was catered to a younger audience, but at the same time, I understand that like artists grow, like, I don't know. I think as an artist, he should have a right on like where he wants to go with his music, how he wants to portray himself. And he has that freedom to do it. It's not his job to like monitor your children and monitor what they watch. That's, as a caregiver, as a parent, that's your job. So stop putting the blame on someone else.
Yeah, agreed. Did you also hear about his shoe?
What shoe? I only watched it once. I didn't pay attention to his shoe.
No. I mean, he partnered with a company called Mischief for a shoe that he came out with, right? And they sold 666 pairs of the shoe. It's like a black shoe with like the Nike sign, but it has like the pentagram pendant on it, and then it also has the Luke 10:18, like it says Luke 10:18, which is a Bible verse about basically Satan falling from heaven, I guess. But then the shoes also contain a drop of human blood, mixed with a little bit of ink to help create like an air bubble in the shoe, like on the bottom of the shoe. You should look it up, Mish. The shoe
that sounds creepy.
Interesting.
Who would buy that, first of all?
Well, they were selling for over $1,000 each. I don't know if he sold them out or not, but yeah, he partnered with that company to come out with that shoe. So that's another thing that people are just like going crazy about, and hating on it. And, I don't know. I just feel like he's doing his thing, and like we have no right to like tell him what he's doing is wrong or right, because that's him expressing himself. That's him taking creative control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has their opinion, and like everyone can have their opinion, but at the same time, like he's gonna keep doing him, and like there's gonna be people that support him, people that are not gonna support him. But at the end of the day, like,
but he doesn't owe them anything.
Yeah, he doesn't owe them anything. And is he really affecting your life? Probably not.
Probably not. So do you, Lil Nas X?
Yeah. And everyone else, do you?
And everybody else, do you?
Someone's always gonna have something to say, to be honest.
Yeah, that's part of it.
It's part of life.
Part of life. Speaking of life, we're about to get into another topic about something very relatable.
Yes.
And to just being human.
Yeah.
And that is toxic traits.
Before we like define what we mean by toxic or healthy, we'll get into that later. I think that nobody's perfect. Obviously, everybody has toxic traits that could be subjective, and maybe you're aware of them, maybe you're not. Maybe you could be more aware of them if you want to, and if you are aware of them and don't want to change, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That's a good way to start, because I think this is I think a lot of people label people as being toxic versus having toxic traits, which is something we can get into. But I certainly have toxic traits that I'm working on. Some are like lighter, some are like deeper that I need to work on myself. But let's first define, what do we mean by toxic? To me, I guess I would say it means more of like it's negatively impacting my well-being, my relationships, my life, or others that I interact with, others around me, right?
Yeah. Sorry if you hear some background noise. That's Mia playing with her toy. Okay, so I would describe it the same way. I think there's different things that people do that harm, not like, I think the level of harm is different.
Right.
For yourself and to others. But it's just something that we do based off of either like, it can stem from anything. I'm not a psychologist. What am I telling you about?
I'm not a psychologist either.
But I think it stems from like our upbringing, like what we've been through, our experiences, how people have treated us in the past, how people are treating us currently,
how we cope.
How we cope.
Yeah.
Everything basically makes whether we have toxic traits or healthy traits. And I think it varies. And I think a lot of people, when we describe someone as toxic, or people describe themselves as toxic, I think they mean that they're growing through some shit, either with past traumas or some sort of mental health. At least that's the way that I've seen it. I've seen people talk about, their toxic traits because of mental health issues or trauma on social media. And I think a lot of people are more open to talk about it now because there's more awareness, there's more openness, there's more vulnerability, and people connect with that. And then also it can be very validating, but at the same time, like it's really deep, or it can be really light things. Like I said, the level of harm can range. But at least that's how I see it, is like people are working through their own shit, and that's why they can be toxic. I don't think that necessarily means that like someone can't change, but I think someone can have toxic traits and work on themselves to be better. But that doesn't, I wouldn't say that makes someone toxic. I think someone has toxic traits.
Yeah, I like how you described it as like people are going through something when they exhibit these toxic traits, because that means that you like there is opportunity for change there. When you label someone as toxic, it's like you're saying that's who they are. And when you say that, that language is basically implying that there's no changing. Like that's just who they are, right? So I don't necessarily believe that there's toxic people, but I think people have toxic traits. But I think those traits can change if you work at it, right? And then also I feel like some people, and I've experienced this, where I don't even realize what I'm doing is toxic until later on. Like I feel like a lot of people, maybe it's not very common, but I feel like it's possible that you may not even know that you're doing something toxic until later, right? Like in the moment, you're not realizing that what you're doing is toxic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that takes some self-awareness, but at the same time, like it can be hard for people to admit that what they're doing isn't the best decision. And maybe they're not choosing it, but I think, you know, that saying where it was like, when you know better, you do better. I think that's when that comes into play, once you're aware of what you're doing. If you know better, you do better.
Right. Well, that's like a first step of, I think, changing those traits is first identifying them, right? But it takes a certain level of self-awareness, because I think it could be possibly that people are like you could avoid it and deny that you have any, or you might just not even realize. Like, for example, I used to be, and I still kind of am, but I used to be kind of like a people pleaser. It was really hard for me to say no to things. So I say yes. But I didn't realize in the moment just how much that was harming me, you know? Until later on, I was like, okay, this is really exhausting for me. It's like mentally, physically, emotionally exhausting for me to say yes all the time. When am I going to put myself first, right? But in the moment, I didn't realize that what I was doing was toxic, you know? I was just like, yeah, this is probably the right thing to do. I'm not going to say no to you. Let's do it, you know, whatever. Whether it's like going out or going out to eat when I didn't want to, or like, you know, just whatever. I was just like a big people pleaser. So,
when did you think you stopped doing that, or like when you like were more vocal about it?
I don't really have like a specific moment where I realize like I need to be saying no more, but I feel like the more, like, I think there was one point where I just like couldn't say yes anymore, and I just like I was like, no, like I like, and I felt bad, but I was like, it kind of feels good to have that empowerment within myself. Like it felt good to say no. Right. So then I was like, okay, like that's when I started reflecting, okay, well, like, why have I been saying yes all the time when I don't want to, and what can I do about it? And now I'm like, now I'm very good about saying no to things that I don't want to do. But I don't know exactly when that changed. Probably in the last 2-3 years, probably when I moved to Chicago, actually. When I kind of lived away from family, not saying that that was what it was, but it was more like I kind of left my comfort zone a little bit. And I started to kind of grow in different ways, and maybe that kind of helped me. I'm not really sure, but I just know that I'm very different now than I was 3-4 years ago. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we don't realize it, and then until later that we are like, wow, this has really been not very good for me or for others, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's good that you, you know, were able to be self-aware of that, and then choose yourself basically, and set those boundaries for yourself. Props.
Thank you, girl. So should we talk about some light ones? Some not so deep ones?
We can go back and forth.
Okay.
I guess I can talk about something that I used to do and don't do anymore, and realize that like it was toxic. Is that you know, the hustle culture of working really hard, not sleeping, or like I used to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Just like promoting this overworking.
Right.
And I realized that it wasn't healthy and it wasn't sustainable, because there would be a period of like where I would work really hard and then I would feel really burnt out. And it would take me, and I realized that when that would be like a cycle, right? And I realized that like the recuperation period took me a lot longer the more I did it. And I was like, this is not sustainable for my life. Like, I am not happy when I'm burnt out. How can I make this easier for me? So I learned to work smarter, not harder. Because if you can get the same amount of work done, or like be smart about how you allocate your time, or like how you work, it's better than like grinding where to the point where you're exhausted. And I'm not saying like I'm a super hard worker and all these things, but because different people have different levels of like working styles and what they do. But for me, I was doing things that weren't the best and basically toxic for my life. So that's something that I have worked on and feel a lot better now that I, reflected on that and then made some changes.
Right.
But yeah.
I remember a few episodes ago, you had talked about how you viewed productivity in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, have always thought like productivity means you're getting all these things done, right? But I feel like rest is just as productive as like doing the work, right? So, similar to what you asked me, when did you make that shift, or when did you realize, okay, this is not good for me,
Yeah, at the end of law school, basically last year.
Oh, so very recent.
Very recent.
Yeah.
I think it's also not just in general, it was just a lot of my environment and how I grew up, as people with like immigrant parents and immigrant families, like where, we've seen them work so hard and make a lot of sacrifices and, we kind of adopt that working style. So there's that, but then also in law school, it's just like a different level of work, a different level of grind. And that's kind of like what they promote in law school in general. Like, just like you have to work, you have to volunteer, you have to be involved in all these orgs, you have to be like a president of an organization. You have to do all these things, and it's like really not possible. And I knew a lot of people, a lot of law students who were juggling a lot. And it was just wasn't sustainable. And for me, I did it every year. I felt like, and every time it hit like April or May, or like towards the end of the year, I would feel really burnt out. And it wasn't until like my last year and when the pandemic happened, where I was like, I can't, like, I feel burnt out and like I'm emotionally exhausted with everything happening, and I can't feel like I'm like feeling better about this. And that's when I was like reevaluated my life, reevaluated my values, like and had that like switch in my mentality where it was like work and productivity and like tangible things like aren't the end all be all, like who am I as a person, and what do I value, what do I like. Basically, I just was like, am I like, if I get rid of all these accomplishments, all these degrees or whatever, and all these things, like, am I happy with me? Am I happy with how I am as a person? And then like just separating who I am versus like what I do was something really important, and what I like had to understand. So yeah, I really hope that I know a lot of people who go through either like law school, medical school. Yes, it's a big accomplishment to do all those things, but at the end of the day, like your job and your title isn't really who you are. Like, who are you without all of those things?
Right. Put your happiness and your health first. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember in grad school, I reached a point towards the end where I was like doing my internship and working and going to school. And I reached a point where like, I didn't realize I had anxiety. Like, I didn't even know what that really felt like. I couldn't really define it. And then it started to become more and more present. And I was like, okay, this is not normal for me. Something's off here. I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
And like I had said earlier that I used to like say yes to everything. I reached a point where I was like, I need to like make some changes here, you know, and I need to say no to a few things to make sure that I'm like happy and like surviving and like, and okay, right? I just needed to be okay. So, you know, I was able to make certain changes and just focus on, you know, I just focused on school and my internship. I know a lot of, you know, and I had the privilege too of being financially okay enough to not work while I was finishing up school. That's another thing. But I mean, like, I feel like that's really important that people understand, do what is going to help you be okay and be happy. And, you know, just because like you said, your accomplishments don't define you.
Or your grades,
your
title,
you go to,
or anything.
Any of that. Any of that.
Yeah. And it may not feel like that when you're in it in the moment. I get it. But like, that's something that I wish I kind of realized earlier, you know?
That's deep.
That's deep. I was going to say something else, but I forgot what else I was going to say.
And we were talking about light traits. We went
I know.
Deep.
Yeah. I guess like if anyone, like we're talking about our experiences with school, I think it can happen anywhere. But like if you're in school right now and you feel like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this, and like overfill your plate, I would say like reevaluate that. Like, what is it that you actually need to do? At least I learned now that I'm like older that like it's better to have things that where you can manage and be your best self in all of those versus to half-ass all the other things that you're doing. Because that's something that I realized at the end of law school, where so many other students who, you know, I was working with were involved in so many things. And then when we would have to work on organizing something, like they would really just half-ass it. And most of the work would fall on me, even though like we're co-working on shit. Sorry for cursing. But it just shows you like the lack of work or preparation that you can do and put into something when you're just like stretching yourself so thin that you're not even doing a good job in any of the things that you care about.
Well, and also it's just hard to be present.
Yeah.
Like for me, I had such a hard time being present for like the families that I was working with in my internship, because I had all these things in my head of like, okay, I need to get this done. I have this paper to write. I have to go to work tomorrow. I have to wake up early. Like I just had a lot on my plate that it was really hard to focus on one thing at a time. And it was really hard for me to be present, which impacts the quality of work that I was providing or that I was doing, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good point.
I was going to say, I do have a tip for someone who like is dealing with a lot and then doesn't feel like they can be present. I don't know if people have tried this, but maybe you can try it. I used to do this because in law school, I had this really awesome professor who, you know, knew that we were like juggling a lot of things. So before class, she would make us get like she would give us a plastic paper and we would have like a tiny sheet. And basically everything that is on your mind, you would write down like anything. Like if you're like, oh, like I have a paper tomorrow and I like have to write it, or like I have this thing due, or like I'm thinking about my parent who's in another state, or whatever it is that's occupying space in your mind, you would write it down and then put it in the cup, basically like making your mind available for the class. And that was super, like, that was just like fucking mind blowing to me because I had never thought of that. So now that's something that I do, that like if things are like, if I can't be present, I need to somehow put all those thoughts somewhere for a moment so I can concentrate. And then I can like, after class, she would like make us take out the piece of paper, you know? So that's like a tip, maybe, if people want to try.
Yeah, you can do it at night too, because I remember when I was doing that, or when I was in school and like juggling all these things and having a really hard time, I could not sleep. Even though I was exhausted and I was like, I feel like I could fall asleep at any moment. My mind was racing and it was really hard for me to fall asleep at night. So what I would do is I would write down, like, because I kept thinking about what do I have to do tomorrow? What do I have to do tomorrow? So I would just write down like those things so that you kind of like transfer them out of your head, and you like, I don't have to worry about having to remember it the next day because they're written down. You see it in the morning. right?
Yeah.
So just similar to that is, you know, transferring those to a piece of paper is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And hopefully, that helps with if you're having trouble sleeping or being present, focusing, whatever it is, transfer those thoughts to a piece of paper. And it's very simple and a small thing to do, and yet so powerful.
Yeah, for sure. Or another tip, also tips.
Provide them tips, girl.
You know, when we are not promoting like breaks, but also like when people have to be productive because of either like their jobs that are super important, like mine. I don't do this now, but I used to do it while I was in school, is set a timer for either like 30, 45, 50, 55 minutes. Or usually I would do 50 when I was in school, and just be productive for that time period. And then once my timer goes off, then I get like a 10-minute break, and then do whatever I need to do to like make me feel good, and then go back if I can. But then I wouldn't do past 3 hours. You know what I mean? Because that focus time. So if people can, you know, if that might help people, if you need to do something, like maybe set your timer for 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to work on, this single task for 30 minutes, however much I can do. Maybe that can help you. And then also like give you a break. That's
the Pomodoro Technique. Have you heard of that?
I heard of it. I just don't know the name of it. So props to.
That's what you were doing. Where you do like a work session for, depending, it could be 30, 45 minutes, and then you take a 15-minute break, and then you go again 45 minutes, and like that. That's the Pomodoro Technique.
Pomodoro? Who's that?
Pomodoro. I don't know if that's like a name of somebody, but that's the name of the study technique.
Yeah, I feel like it's somebody. I'm gonna look that up later.
My brother and I adopted the Pomodoro technique. I found it on YouTube.
What is that?
We found it on YouTube. And it's the Pomodoro technique, but instead of like you do 45 minutes, that's what we were doing. 45 minutes work, focus. And then you watch one anime episode, which is like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then that would be like our kind of like our reward, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we would go back and do the 45 minutes again and like that and watch another episode. So it was just fun. It was fun to do it because I was like looking forward to the episode to see what's going to happen next, you know, but I was able to focus. It wasn't distracting, but you know, be careful with that, right? Make sure it's not distracting or anything like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I should try that.
You don't have to do it with anime. You can do it with anything, really.
Yeah.
We just did it with anime because
that's a good idea.
We just enjoy it.
I just feel like I can't want like the shows that I like are longer than like 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But I still think it's a good method. Either way, whatever works for you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Also doing like the hardest thing first, or doing what's gonna take you the least amount of time. Like one of those might help, because then you start building momentum, and once you accomplish the first thing, it's like
you feel good.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I can keep going. You know?
Yeah.
I
know some people are like they get one little thing done and then they take like 3 hours of break. I'm like,
I've certainly done that.
I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. You know, I'm no one to judge.
I send an email and then I'm like, okay, I can go for like a 10-minute break after sending one email. But you do like it's like a psychological thing. You build this momentum.
Yeah.
After you get something done, you get to check it off your list. It feels good. And then you just keep going. And before you know it, you finish like 5 or 6 different tasks.
Yeah. All right,
hopefully that helps.
Hopefully it helps, listeners. If it doesn't, let us know what works for you. Comment below, like in the comments. All right, should we list off like some of our lighter toxic traits? I'm going air quote because I just think in general, everyone has a different meaning of like what is toxic to themselves or what is toxic to other people and what they do. So these are what we think for us.
Yeah, lighter for me is being on my phone in bed at nighttime before going to bed. I do it all the time, and it's not good because I'm already a person that has difficulty falling asleep.
Yeah.
And I wake up a lot throughout the night. Like that's what I do. And so I know that it's not helping me, and yet I still do it.
Yeah.
And then I wake up groggy the next day, and it cycles.
I think a lot of people do that. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that.
Yeah.
I definitely do that. I think just to bounce off of that, I just sleep late for no reason. Like there's absolutely no reason why I'm like up at 2 or 1 a.m. Yeah. Like there is no reason.
That's impressive.
But then I'm trying to change that though. I can't keep doing that. I'm just exhausted in the morning. Like I was doing that for the past 2 weeks, and I would just like today I had a really bad headache, and the fact that I wasn't drinking a lot of water too, that didn't help. So yeah, that's something that I do. I just stay up. Why? I don't know. Like I'm just like, well, let's do something. Like, and by something I mean like watch a show or just like.
I was gonna say, what do you do in those like when you're up? You know,
just watch YouTube videos or like shows or like a movie that I just randomly want to watch. Yeah, that's what I do. It makes no sense. Okay. So that's something that I'm actually working on.
Another one related to sleep that I do is snooze my alarm like probably 5 times minimum. I hate that I do it, but I do it.
Yeah.
And I know that when you snooze, like you'll feel more awake if you just get up, you know, just turn off your alarm, get up and go on with your day. You'll feel more energized. You know, when you keep snoozing, it's like you fall asleep for like 5 minutes and then you're waking up again and then you snooze and you go like that. That's very draining. And and I feel more tired when I do it. But I think because I have a hard time falling asleep at night, it makes it even harder for me to get up in the morning, therefore the snooze. So it's really like, I feel like it's all connected and it's just all toxic for me, basically.
Gotta sleep better. Yeah. It's okay. It's a work in progress.
Work in progress.
Okay. Another one for me, I need to be better at creating a separation between me and Mia. Because I think dogs like her can develop separation anxiety. And I've noticed that she can't really be alone. And she's a dog, so she's supposed to be able to be alone. So that's something that I need to work on. And it's not just toxic for myself, but it's toxic for her. So yeah, I need to be better. I need to be better with her. I might just take her to some training. Because this is getting annoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. One more that I'm thinking of for me is I mentioned in our previous episode that I tend to hop from hobby to hobby, and I have so many different interests all at the same time, and I'll do something for a little bit and I'll do the next thing later, and I can be kind of impulsive in that way. And sometimes it could be like I purchase something impulsively because I'm interested in that thing, but I don't need it, and I don't really stay focused on it for long periods of time. So maybe it's not even worth it to buy it. You know, I don't do it all the time, but I know that I've done it before multiple times, and I can be impulsive about things. And so, you know, another work in progress, another thing on my list to work on.
That's not bad. I mean, yeah. It's good that you have many interests. It can be, but it's good that you have all these interests and like you go for it. I feel like so many people would be very hesitant to even like try something new.
There's different sides to it. I just feel like it'd be nice if I could stick with something for a little bit longer, just to make it worth it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, just to backtrack to what I was saying earlier, I do train Mia. I just meant like going to a professional, that can provide more guidance. But yeah, I do train her. Just sometimes it's a little hard and frustrating, but it's okay. Another thing for me is I have them listed as I'm looking over this way. I can be an impatient driver.
Can you?
Yeah, I can. I am an impatient driver. I think I'm a really good driver. I've been driving since I was 15, I think, because of driver's ed. And, you know, the first day that I got my driver's my learner's permit, like I didn't have any practice. And I was like, let's go, Mom. I'm driving this home. And I almost hit somebody.
Oh, shit.
Good thing I didn't. Maybe that's another story for another day, but I didn't hit them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would say I'm a good driver, so I get really impatient. And Jesus says that I get a little vocal uh, when I am driving. I mean, obviously I'm still safe and, you know, I follow all the laws and rules and stuff like that, but some words do slip out here and there. But yeah, that's that. I guess that would be one of my toxic traits. I had asked Jesus, like, what would you say? And he was like, yeah, you get a little angry when you drive. So I guess that's one. Okay. And I would agree.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get angry on the road.
Mm-hmm. So many people here in New York do. Like, they just use the horn for anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. I've learned that here in Chicago that there's a lot of impatient drivers. Like, the light turns green not even half a second and people are already beeping at you to go, you know. Like, people are just need to go from A to B real quick.
Yeah, I'm not that like obnoxious. Like, I'm not gonna beep at someone unless there's like a legit emergency, but I will like say like hurry the fuck up type of thing. I mean, I'm not gonna like yell it out the window so they can hear, but like I'll probably say something like that. Or like I would never like intentionally cut off a driver either, because that's not safe. And I have been in an accident before that hasn't been my fault, and I'm kind of traumatized off of that. But I'm still a good driver. People are gonna be like, no, you know, you got in an accident, but it wasn't my fault.
She's a good driver. I've been in the car with you plenty of times. You're a good driver.
Yeah, I was legit just like the aftermath, like a car spun into me.
Yeah,
and it wasn't my fault. So
I'm like too patient on the road.
You're like chilling. You're like, my music, like if it takes me extra longer, I'm gonna be late. It's fine. Like you're like, oh, like I like
grab my coffee. I'm just jamming on the way.
For real, you're like, but stay, roll down the window,
dude, for real. And I'm like one of those people that won't use the horn unless it's like I have to use the horn. You know?
Same.
But there's moments where I should have used it and I didn't.
Yeah, you should use it.
That's what I mean.
Use it.
I'm too nice. Like, it's not a good thing. I'm not saying this is a good thing. This is like a negative thing. Like, I need to be, you know, I need to be on it. But yeah, it's just, it's interesting. People are different.
Another thing that's like not toxic, but something that I like to do to like kind of, I don't know, it's piss off, but like the other drivers, like when someone is really mad and like apparently you're not going fast enough or whatever, like, or like they flick you off, like I like just wave at them. And like I'm like, have a good day, like I'm chilling. And I feel like that makes someone even more angry for whatever reason. I'm just like, yo, chill. People get very angry. I've never flicked anybody on the road, I don't think, or maybe I have, I don't know. You haven't?
I don't remember.
I have, and I've seen my mom flick off people too.
Whoa,
so
badass.
That's probably where I learned it. Yeah.
Badass. I've been in a car where people are like screaming at like they're just like yelling. They're not like, they're like, what are you doing, dumbass? Or you idiot? Or like, you know?
Yeah.
You know, chilling on the passenger seat, like, okay.
Yeah. You know what other people do that's I think is hilarious is like when they drive by and they like look at you, and I'm like, yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm extra as fuck, like, hey. Just to piss them off. It's fun.
You're hilarious. I didn't know that's what you like to do. I'm learning new things about you.
I mean,
it's so funny.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I'm like just trying to.
No, and you're being safe about it, because like there are people that will cut you off on purpose, and I'm like, that's bad because you can cause an accident. Like, what if that person you're cutting off doesn't stop in time? Like you're you know, like,
that's very unsafe.
Chill.
Chill. Basically, I don't think I'm that bad, but I know I can be an impatient driver, but not like that. That's a different level.
But do you feel like that's toxic? Like, is that toxic
I don't know
for you?
Maybe it can be for other people in the car, like if they just don't want to hear someone cursing.
I guess. Possibly. Okay.
I don't know. I'm just like expressing myself.
I got you. Should we go into like what like toxic traits about other people?
Let's
that we don't like?
let's get into it.
Let's get into some traits that we can't stand in other people. Okay, and just to like clarify, like we're not here to talk shit about anybody. It's just more of like these are some things that can really impact relationships and interactions and like all these things. And I feel like these are things that we should all be aware of, you know?
Yeah. And the reason that we're talking about it is like, these things are things that I've seen that have made me kind of like protect my energy, protect like my relationships and who I want to spend my time with and who I like want to build these relationships with. And so I think it's important to honor like what you value and what you want in relationships. And these are just things that made us like ding these red flags and like kind of like not want to be around people who are like that. And I think that's definitely okay. And you know, maybe you have, if you're listening, have different traits of other people that you just dislike, and that's okay too. Like obviously no one is going to be friends with everyone. We understand that. It's just understanding what you don't necessarily prefer in other people and people who are your friends or the people you surround yourself with. And then
it's okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's okay to be intentional. In fact, I would encourage you to be intentional about who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. So these are some things that like are big no-nos to us.
A big no-no. Manipulation of people, of situations, of spaces. That is a red flag. I wish I had a red flag with me to wave right here. This is my imaginary red flag. That's a big no-no for me. It's just very selfish to me. It's very like invalidating of the other people. Just like stop trying to control anybody. Just do you. You know what I mean? Not everybody's gonna agree with you. Not everybody's gonna want to do what you want to do. Oh well.
Yeah.
But I've seen it with different people.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
I guess another one would be when people are like shady, but petty. I think those go hand in hand really well. I'm just the type of person where like if I don't like something or I don't like someone or like someone did something to me, like I'll confront it. Like I'm pretty direct. And I know some other people aren't like that, which kind of goes into like being passive aggressive. I dislike all of those things. I think if someone has a problem or has an issue or something, like we could easily just talk about it. And I don't expect at the end of the day to be friends or anything, but I do expect respect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't really like shady pettiness or passive aggressive. And that comes from just being, at least I see this a lot where people act like they're supporting you or like act like they're there for you, but at the end of the day, they're not, or like, I don't know if you've seen this on social media where when you're down, like people like look at the people around you. And then when you're successful, look at the people around you. And I think that says a lot too. Yeah.
I won't go into the details of the story, but I've had somebody who disliked me very much for years and years and years. I never knew why.
So fucking petty.
Y'all,
petty. That makes me angry.
Listeners, I told Michelle this story. Was it last night? Yesterday when we were talking?
Yesterday. Yeah.
But this person really did not like myself or my sister for years. But I would see this person a lot because we knew the same people and family friends, like all these things. But I wasn't expecting to be friends with this person, but I also wasn't going to be rude. So I would say hi when I would see the person in the room.
Yeah.
I would acknowledge their presence. They did the complete opposite with me. They would like roll their eyes at me, look me up and down. Like it was very clear.
It's just so
like,
petty.
They were not trying to hide their feelings.
Petty. Yeah. Even as an adult, that's so petty. So unnecessary.
So,
I think. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it goes to what you're saying is like respect, right? I don't like, I didn't expect this person to like, I didn't expect to have a full on conversation or anything, but I also wasn't going to be rude to this person and just like ignore them. And like, you know, like if I'm going to see this person in passing, or if I see them in the gathering or whatever it is that we're doing, I will say hi. It's not being fake. It's just being respectful. It's like decency, human decency, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I did not get that in return, no matter how many times I did, like, you know, try to say hi or whatever. But so anyway, it was very petty.
Even as like an adult, and if you're still doing petty shit like that, what are you doing with your life? Like, seriously, like reevaluate yourself. And then like, it's just kind of ugly too, to just be like petty, shady, and all these things, and thinking like you're better than other people for no reason, or starting beef for no reason. Like, that's just like ugly to me. Like ugly, like so fucking.
Tell us how you really feel, me.
It's like a waste of time too, a waste of time, a waste of energy. Like, let it go. Like, focus on yourself. Like, I just don't get how people are like that. So I don't even entertain it either. But like when I come into like, if I like see it and like people like, I don't even entertain that. I'm like, I'm just blocking you. I'm not following you. I'm not doing anything. Like, I don't have time for it.
Yeah. But it also goes to like that point that you're making. If you don't like somebody, or if you have some beef, or you're feeling some type of way, just say it. You know, as hard as it may be or uncomfortable, it's even more uncomfortable when you keep throwing shade at the person for like years. You know, like I never knew why this person didn't like me until years and years later. And it wasn't even because they wanted to tell me. It was because we were kind of put in that situation where we had to kind of talk about it. You know, put on the spot. And but just like, stop acting shady and just either like be respectful, and you don't have to have a relationship with the person, but you know, but you don't have to be petty, you don't have to throw shade, you don't have to be rude. After all, we are still all human beings, right? We're still people.
So, there's a difference where you're like starting it versus like you defending yourself. I'm not saying like if someone is coming at you, obviously you can come at them, do whatever you want, because like you're entitled to that. But I'm saying like, don't like, I would never be that initiator. Whoever initiates it, I just think it's petty. And also like it stems from insecurities. Like if we're going to be honest and real, like those people who do that and think that way and do all this shady, petty stuff, it's their insecurities. And so that's something that they're dealing with. So I'm like, consult with Jesus and leave me the fuck alone.
I mean, honestly, half the time it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's more of like whatever they're dealing with. You're kind of taking it out on you or other people or the world. Okay, another one is toxic positivity, which is something that I had learned about recently. And I didn't realize that was a thing that I had experienced until there was a label to it. But essentially, it's those sayings of, oh, it could be worse. You need to calm down. You're exaggerating. It's not that big of a deal. You know, I've been told those things plenty of times. Like, I, in general, am an anxious person. I'm really chill, but I am also really anxious and I get nervous really easily. That's me. That's my reality. So if I'm sharing something and for you, it might not be a big deal, to me, it is, right? And like, I think people need to be validating of that, because it can be really invalidating and it can be really isolating to be told you need to calm down when I'm telling you,
or you need
to
just be happy.
Like, it's just like, okay, that doesn't help. If anything, it makes me feel like something's wrong with me. You know? And it makes me much less willing to share anything with you, you know? And then you kind of internalize those things. It's like, okay, maybe I'll just keep it to myself. You know, that I think is really toxic.
I think a lot of people do that without like intentionally trying to cause any harm or invalidation, but it's good that like we're talking about it. Because I would have people tell me that too, especially last year when I was like really struggling, like saying how like, oh, look at the bright side, or like, oh, you graduated law school, you have a job, like you should be happy. And it's just like, yeah, obviously, but like there's other stuff happening that like is really affecting me. And if it really does feel isolating when when someone isn't validating your feelings. And I think people have different levels of like sensitivity, different types of emotions that they feel. Like they just respond to different things. We just respond to different things differently. So I think it's just important to be careful, like the language that you use with someone who is trying to open up to you and be vulnerable. And, you know, sometimes you don't have the words to say, like to comfort someone. Like for me specifically, like I get really, like, obviously I work with clients who are very vulnerable and have gone through trauma and abuse. And, you know, I have that training. But I think also it's different when it comes to like someone who's really close to you. Sometimes I don't have the words, or like maybe you don't have the words if someone is opening up to you, but let them know, like, I don't have the words to, like, I don't know what to say to you, but just know that I'm here for you. And I think that that is enough. Like, you don't need to have the answers to everything. You don't need to be a professional, but you can be there for somebody and for them to like know that they have your support. And I think that's the most important part.
Yeah. Well, you made a good point that like when people say, you know, you calm down, it's, you know, it could be worse. They like 9 times out of 10, what they're trying to do is help you feel better. Right. So, you know, I think it's important to emphasize that most of the time it's not coming out of a bad place.
Yeah.
It's not malintentioned or whatever.
But
I would rather have someone just sit there and kind of listen than tell me to calm down, you know?
Yeah.
Like that is more powerful to me and more impactful and more validating than if you were to tell me chill, you know? So
another tip that makes me think of that is Jesus and I, what we do, Jesus is my boyfriend, for people who don't know. I keep saying Jesus and maybe you don't know who that is, but my boyfriend and I, we're up, you know, as humans, we go through a lot of things. We have a lot of problems, a lot of things that happen. I'm not saying with our relationship, but things that bother us, either like with family or friends or whatever, right? And I tell pretty much Jesus knows everything about me, and I know a lot about Jesus too. So we know like how things bother us. So when we have something to share about, like maybe something happened to us at work or something happened to us with our family or whatever, I'm just going in circles, but
are you good?
We before we have this deep conversation, you know, I ask him or he asks me, like, for this conversation, like, do you want advice or do you just want me to listen to you? And it's usually when I'm either venting or going through something emotionally where he'll ask me, he's like, what do you want from me? Do you just want me to listen, or do you want me to give you advice after you like tell me what you feel? And that is something that really helped us in terms of like communication, because sometimes I just needed him to listen to me vent and listen to how I felt, and just have someone listen to me. Or sometimes I was like, okay, this is what happened, like, should I be feeling this bad, or like, did I do something wrong in this situation, or what should I do, or you know what I mean? So I think that is a big tip too. And then also like asking him, now that we're a little bit long distance, I also ask him like, hey, like something came up that, you know, I'm not feeling super well about, I want to talk to you about it, like, can we make some time for it later? Like, just being very clear that like if he has the time and like energy to like help me with that too is super important. I know it seems a little robotic and like technical, but I think it really
does works help for you, you know?
I think it really does help with our relationship and communication, and it might help you in your any type of relationship, really.
And I think like if it's somebody that you know, you're not super close with, or you know, like, because that's a really close relationship that you share with him, but you know, with anybody else too, like just simply validating what they're feeling in and of itself is, I would recommend doing. Like, you could just, as simple as saying, wow, that sounds really hard, or wow, that must have been really difficult for you, you know? You know, like just simply saying those words is very validating. Like, yes, it was, you get it, like it really was hard for me, you know? And that's something that I try to do, is just validate those feelings, and just and then you saying it out loud to that person is showing them also that you're hearing them, you're hearing what they're saying, like, I hear you, and that sounds really hard, you know,
Yeah.
or that must have been
Yeah.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
Very simple phrase goes a long way.
Yeah.
Much more so than saying, calm down, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. That sucks. I've been told that too, and
I have to.
that does not make me calm down. That does not like lower my anxiety or my stress. Like, no, this is not helpful.
Right.
Okay. Just another quick one. I guess fakeness, someone being fake. I think there's different levels to this too, if I'm honest, now that I'm thinking about it. I think I don't even know how I would describe it. I think it's really close to manipulation, because someone is trying to show or like put on this facade that they act a certain way, but in reality they aren't, which can be manipulation.
Well, I feel like it could also be related to seeking validation in others. Like, you are presenting yourself in a way so that you are accepted, or so that people view you in a certain way, in a way that you want to be viewed.
I've had experiences where this person would, say something to, we would have a group of friends, and they would say certain things to another group of people, and then like we would meet other people and they would kind of say the same thing but a little bit different. And so I never really actually knew the truth to them, and maybe they didn't owe that truth to anybody, but it just seemed very fake and seeking that validation, and also not very trustworthy and shady. And so when I saw those things happening, it was kind of like a red flag, like, yo, I don't really want to be friends with you because you're being fake. Or I didn't think it was genuine, and that was just something that I didn't want to have in my life as a friendship. So yeah,
all of these traits that we described are like big red flags for us. And like you had said earlier, we just want to bring light to these and hope that you take something from this and are intentional about who you surround yourself with, because those toxic traits, while they are exhibited by a certain person, they can have big impacts on you. Interacting with them and having a certain relationship with them, that can really affect you. So yeah, we just want to bring that up. We should lighten up the mood a little bit.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about some non-toxic, healthier types of traits.
Yes.
Green flags, or purple or pink, or whatever.
Whatever flag. Non-toxic, healthy traits. Okay.
Things that we do look in people.
I like when there's like when people can be held accountable, like when it's okay to hold other people accountable and not like have any bad feelings about it. Like, I think when someone challenges you, like, at least for me, if it comes from a place of love, I think they're just looking out for me. They want the best for me. They want me to be a better person, a better human being. So I really like that trait, when someone is willing to say like, hey, you're wrong, and like explain to me why I'm wrong. And I think it's normal. Like, no one's right all the time, and I think it's important to want to evolve and be better as a person. So I really like when someone can challenge me, or like there's like accountability and respect.
That actually made me think of, like, with accountability, also apologizing when you mess up and owning up to your mistakes, or when you do something wrong, you own up to it, and you say sorry and you move on. But I mean, also be genuine about it. Like, don't just say
some
sorry
people
to avoid
so
it.
Salty. Some people are so salty when they're like, oh, like, you did this and like you messed up, or like you made me feel this way, and like people don't want to acknowledge it or take accountability for it, or even apologize, and that's like again ugly.
And also with apologies, be careful with how you apologize, because if you say, I'm sorry that you felt this way, you know what I mean?
That's not an apology. I'm like, you're sorry that I felt? Like, you're really sorry for my emotions. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And then similarly too, when you say, I was just trying to do this, you're kind of justifying your actions when they were wrong regardless. Like, I would recommend instead to say, I am sorry that I did that, and I will work to do better, and I will work to change. Like, own up to it. Just own up to it. It's
and people make mistakes. We're not perfect, and it's fine. Apologize, mean it, move on. It's fine. Like, I don't know why people are so caught up on like not apologizing.
People get very uncomfortable when they're called out and when they have to apologize.
Yeah,
so I think we need to normalize that a little bit more. Just owning up to your, being held accountable. Another one I was thinking about is supporting and lifting one another up. I've experienced a lot of times where like you say something to somebody of something you're proud of or something that you did or somewhere you went, and someone tries to one up you by saying something that they did that's maybe a little bit better if in their opinion or whatever. And it's like you're comparing yourselves to one another, why not just say, I'm happy for you, that's so cool that you got to do that, or like how awesome that you were able to go here, or whatever, just like be each other's cheerleaders. I like that trait when people are supportive and cheer each other on.
Same. As long as it's genuine and like people actually mean it, right. I would agree.
Don't be fake.
You can see right through it. I'm just
kidding. For real. You got another one, Mish?
Another trait I like is when like people stick to their word.
Ooh.
Like when people are like, I'm gonna do this, and like they actually do it, or like maybe they can't do it and something comes up and then they just like say like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Like, that's fine. I just like when someone is like sticks to their word and like is like pretty straight up. I like that. And I also like when people are very direct. When like if you need something, or I don't know, something happens and like you can just talk about it, just being very direct. I really like that too. I appreciate that. I think that's a good quality to have. Other healthy traits, I would say validating emotions, like we talked about earlier. Like I think it's important to be able to talk about that. And like also like finding balance in life. I like surrounding myself with people who do that and who have that mindset.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, y'all, we talked about a lot. One takeaway something that I'm taking away from this, and I hope that you all as well, is like I've said before, be intentional of who you surround yourself with. Know what you value in yourself and other people, and seek that when you're with whoever you become friends with, or get into a romantic relationship with, or even family. Like that's another thing. We could get into that another time. Episode of that, but that's deep. Yeah, we like to get deep on this.
It's channel. Good. Yeah, it's fine. It's good.
I like it a lot. These are conversations that I normally don't have like on a day to day, and a lot of people don't. But still things that I think are important to talk about. Be intentional.
Yeah, and I feel like if you listen to this and maybe don't agree with some of these toxic traits, that's totally fine. I think it's subjective, and maybe you have taken something from this and agree with us or don't agree with us. I think that's great. But I think we all have different traits in us that are either toxic or healthy, and that's normal. No one is perfect. We're not saying we're perfect.
It doesn't mean you are a toxic person.
Yes. So we were just talking about like some lighter toxic traits that we have. And I hope this was entertaining and that you enjoyed it. And that's it.
That's it for today, y'all. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you. Yep.
Like usual, we'll link our Instagram, Facebook, Linktree to all our to all the podcast platforms, so you can listen to this episode. If you don't watch it on YouTube, comment down below, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Rate us on the podcast platforms.
Yep.
That really helps us expand our audience and reach out to a wider community. So thank y'all for
thank you.
In.
Yep.
We'll catch you at the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.